You can't make this up. On the same day we see gold hit all-time highs, we see firsthand the scary effects of living in an AI bubble. Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. I gotta take a second to thank you guys, the viewers. You guys have been going crazy on these past uploads. I'm glad you're liking the content because I enjoy making this stuff. If you're new to the channel, go ahead, like and subscribe, join the thread, but let's get straight into it. Gold, for the first time in history, just hit $4,000 an ounce. Just to put that in context, guys, this time in 2022, you could have bought an ounce of gold for $1,600. Just this year alone, we've seen the price jump up by more than 50%, and it's still not over. But that good news didn't really resonate all throughout the market. On the other hand, we saw stocks see one of the scariest signs that we've seen in a while. It's obvious to everybody that we're in a bubble, and everybody's been fairly okay with that. Nobody's really been raising too many red flags, but today we saw the consequences of being in a bubble firsthand. Oracle has been a big name in the AI sector and cloud computing in general. One of the main functions of their business is renting out servers with NVIDIA chips to other companies. A report came out that even though they make $900 million of revenue off of this business, only $125 million of that is actually gross profit. That translates to about a 14% gross profit margin, which is pretty pitiful when you stack it against other people in the same industry getting 70% margins. But when you dig deeper into the reports, it shows Oracle's having a hard time even renting out these NVIDIA chips. And once people read this, they reacted. The stock dropped 4% in a matter of minutes. I'll put a picture of their stock up now, but it literally looks like a cliff. They did regain some ground, making this only a 2.5% loss on the day, but the effects spread way further than just Oracle. Tesla saw a 4.5% drop today in its stock price, and that comes from the underwhelming release of their new Model Y, which is supposed to be the cheaper, more affordable version, but honestly, it looks like the same car, and I think investors are tired of what Tesla's doing. It was also expected that they were going to release some type of fans or GPU fans, but that news has not been announced, so it's all speculation currently. But Tesla overall has just been having a very weird year. When you tie all this news together, you see a picture that shows that 6 of 7 of the Mag 7 companies saw losses today, spelling trouble for the S&P 500. This snaps a 7-day winning streak, and shortly after the news broke, we saw gold hit all-time highs. Does this mean that a recession is going to happen tomorrow? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. While the news is bad for those companies, another company in the AI sector that's seeing record growth is AMD. OpenAI bought a 10% stake in AMD and announced a strategic partnership to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs. This would directly test NVIDIA's control on the market. The biggest question of this partnership, though, is where are they going to get the power? We just don't have a power grid right now to handle 6 gigawatts of GPUs. But I guess just like everything else with these AI companies, we'll figure that out later. Okay, we're all familiar with how uncertain the market is, so hearing this volatile news in both directions really is up to interpretation. I can make an inference off what's going on that we're headed towards not the best road, but at the same time, I don't know how quick the outcomes of these situations will play out. What I do know is that gold is not necessarily a good thing when it goes up. It is a sign of recession or great economic turmoil, and that is just when it's on the rise. It's a safe asset. But what happens when it hits all-time highs in the middle of the stock market hitting all-time highs? The signs that I'm getting from the rise in gold price is a couple things. We're definitely in turbulent times, and no one has 100% faith in any system. We've seen money be manipulated all through this decade. We printed it a bunch, we've lost billions of it, and we really just spend it very recklessly. The way that fiat currency works, the system that we've been living in our whole life, is trust, and the idea that people will pay back what they take out of it and keep a decent balance in circulation. We have completely broken those rules in this country for a long time. Trust in general amongst neighbors is at an all-time low, and if you add a politician into that, we don't trust them at all. And that is the same thing for the elites. They know the system is rigged, they know it is corrupt, and when you see gold heading towards a 5K an ounce price tag, that is a signal that they are jumping ship very quickly. I want to go back in history and see other times that we saw gold have this type of movement and what followed or was happening. And I'm not going to say the Great Recession, that's too easy. But when we think back in history to the points of time where gold has doubled its price in a single year, first thing that comes to mind is the fall of the Roman Empire. The fall wasn't caused by the rise of gold happening, but as confidence left Rome, people put their money into gold, and the people leaving were the wealthiest. Same thing that happened in Spain. When there's great economic mismanagement, the people react by taking their money and putting it into a safe haven. And since we can't look at where Rome is today because it completely fell, we can look at the effects that it had on Spain. Spain used to be a world power at some point. It was the most powerful nation in the Western world in the 1650s. But when you mix in constant constant war, have an overextended empire, handle your economics terribly, and then you also throw hyperinflation on top of that, you wake up to a reality where Spain in April had one of its longest blackouts ever and one of the biggest in European history. It lasted almost 23 hours. If you know anything about power grids, the second you start seeing blackouts, it already shows a system that is riddled with problems. And for a Western nation in 2025 to be struggling with power is not a positive sign of their economic standing. So once again, when gold hits all-time highs, we usually see a lot of disruption follow afterwards. When the rich people take their money out of the system, they protect themselves, but also put a lot of burden on the poor, which in a country that is seeing rising poverty rates might be you one day, if it's not already. This shift from speculation markets to hard assets usually has a negative trickle-down effect. We've already been dealing with inflation, but with the moves the stock market and gold made today, conversations about stagflation are once again on the rise. This government shutdown, while it's not the biggest thing in the world, it is making reporting this news a little bit harder. We should be going off of September numbers or at least fresher data than the August reports, but they keep delaying it as long as it is shut down. So the Federal Reserve, for the first time in a long time, will have to make decisions on what to do next based off what the market is telling them in real time. This will lead to kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. The Fed will kind of realize how powerless it is. If they don't cut interest rates, the job market hurts more. If they do cut interest rates, inflation goes up, even though it's already going up now. Consumers are expecting inflation that is sitting around 3.4%, which is way higher than the 3.2 estimates that we were given. So the Fed really has no right answer to make right now, and it is just going to be trying to brace for the impact. Is the impact going to be seen tomorrow? Is the stock market done hitting all-time highs? I don't necessarily think that's the case. But if you start preparing for a crash the day the crash gets announced, I know you will not be ready. My advice stays the same as always. Prepare, prepare, prepare. There are still gains to be had in the stock market. What I am telling you is do not move all your positions out right now. But if you are not making strategic reserves, I'm talking about things that will have growth even in hard times, then you are not learning from history. Many people are waking up to the times that we're in. While there's a lot of wealth to be had, you should also be focusing on preservation. Many people will not be ready for the winter that is ahead of us, and the gains that we've been seeing for the past 3 years at least are at risk of being wiped off the map. Technology holds a large sector of the stock market than it did during the dot-com bubble. Nvidia is trading at 57 times its actual earnings, and every decision we're making on is betting on the next couple years. I don't try to fearmonger with these videos. That's never the intention. I look at what I see and I talk about it. Even in the best case scenario, let's say the AI bubble doesn't burst. Nobody is happy right now. The people winning are the people who were winning before this bubble was created. And the people taking out their gains to put into gold are the same people who own gold before you did. This is just a large transfer of wealth in my opinion. They overpromise the things that they can actually bring with AI, get everybody normal to invest and put their money into riskier assets than they'd like, invest everyone's retirement into those risky assets. And when it comes time to see the returns, all the people that told you to put your money in have left and went to gold. Now, gold is unaffordable for the average person, and you can't keep your assets safe because everything else is going to inflate. When Hoovervilles start popping up in your neighborhood, when the middle class is the new poverty line, we will see the citizens of this country back in the bread lines and the soup kitchens of the Great Recession, except this time, instead of a person giving you soup, it will be a Tesla robot. While that is a terribly bleak future, I think we're running out of time to stop that reality. We're seeing people our age around the world getting tired of this system. I'm going to be very frank with you guys. The thing that scares me about the current economic system is just how close it is to collapse. We see places like Nepal and Morocco having protests and overthrowing their governments, which before would be a huge deal but would be isolated to those countries. When Rome fell, it did have an effect on every empire around it, but Rome falling mainly affected Rome. It created space for the next person to take their spot. But in the current system that we live in, this globalized system, what happens when the biggest spender falls or when our biggest buyers no longer have money to buy? We have propped up globalization for a long time, and the rich have propped up the outsourcing of jobs and the intertwining and mingling of economics across borders. But moments like this, when we look at real people and not stock market gains, we see the effects this has. If America falls, it is going to take a large part of the West with it. I know my news is centered around American politics and what's going on here, but for all the people that watch around the world, I am taking notes from you. The things that impact your countries very much impact mine. For prosperity to be felt here, we have to stabilize everywhere else as well. well. The idea that we'll be able to take our economies and just separate them like nothing happened after this many years of global trade is asinine to me. And while a lot of politicians around the world are calling for deglobalization, their plans of action to get there are not sound and they don't tackle any of the problems. Look at Trump's tariffs. He's expecting to bring jobs back to the country, but he put a bunch of tariffs before the companies even made plans to rebuild factories. The grandstanding and showboating that is happening in politics is stopping actual real change from happening. So instead of waiting on the sidelines for these people to react, I really hope you take my advice and start preparing. And once again, thank you for your support on this channel. We have been growing, guys. Thank you. I have always had a love for history and economics, and to be able to express something that I'm passionate about and have interest in to a group of people who accept it is amazing. Thank you for the support. But let me know down below, if you are already invested into gold, I bet you're pretty happy right now, but what do you think is going to happen going forward? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join the thread. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Transmission complete. Signal terminating. This is Ghost Thread, signing off.